There is certainly a lot happening around the place this morning. Now, joining us live on the line is the Lord Mayor, Kon Vatskalis. Good morning to you, Kon.
Good morning, Katie.
Kon, I appreciate your time this morning because I know that you have, I believe, just come out of hospital. So I do really appreciate you joining me on the show this morning. How are you going at this point?
Well, I'm out of hospital. Unfortunately, the pain followed me home too. So I'm on the painkillers, try to calm down, and it will take a while, but look, it will get well.
Well, Kon, we wish you all the very best in terms of your recovery. Now, we are hearing this morning, Kon, that the VIP unveiling of the kinetic sculpture has been cancelled. Is that the case?
It is very, very unfortunate, Katie. I know you asked me many times in the past about the unveiling. I couldn't have told you that we invited the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister will come because the instruction from Canberra was we're not allowed to disclose the movements of the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister's office advised us this week that the Prime Minister has to stay to Canberra for a very sad personal issue. He will not be able to come to Darwin. Hence, we decided to cancel the event.
So will the Prime Minister be attending any of the 50th anniversary events for Cyclone Tracy?
My understanding is, and I shouldn't speak more about it because I think it's a personal issue, that it's a personal matter that he has to attend in Canberra, hence he will not be attending any of the events in Darwin. It's something I can understand. We've got friends, family. If something happens, you may have to stay back with your family and your friends rather than traveling the other side of Australia.
Yeah, look, I certainly understand that. I do think that it's still going to be disappointing for a lot of Cyclone Tracy survivors to hear.
It is disappointing. We were looking forward to see the Prime Minister. I sent a personal invitation to him. But at the same time, I can understand it. But we will be here, and we have the public event on Saturday morning at the ski club, and where everybody is invited.
Kon, can I ask, in terms of the event that has been cancelled, did the fact that there was going to be a number of protesters turn up to that event to protest this monument, did that also have a part to play in the cancellation of the VIP event?
Not at all, Katie. We invited a very small number of guests because the Bandilla Beach is still a work site and we're limited on the numbers of the people we can invite. And as I told you before, there was not a whining and dining event. It was just meet the artist, and if the Prime Minister was here, it would be really, really good for to see where the money that they're given to us by the federal government, where it was spent.
So, Kon, there is a call this morning. We spoke to Anthony Bullock a short time ago. There are a number of Cyclone Tracy survivors calling for you to return that $300,000 to the federal government for the kinetic sculpture because it is not a monument for Cyclone Tracy.
From the very beginning, I told you that was not a monument or memorial for Cyclone Tracy. The official memorial will be in East Point, and that's been organized by the survivors of Cyclone Tracy Incorporated, and that's the difference. We've been dealing with an incorporated body. Well, Anthony Bullock represents himself and a few others in his cohort, and he himself admitted he couldn't get an insurance because they're not an incorporated body. Now, I can't deal with every single person who comes to Darwin. I'm obliged to deal with an organization that's got a governance structure and will be accountable. That's why we dealt with Richard Creswick, and that's the reason why we dealt with his organization.
Look, I suppose what they're getting to, though, Kon, is that we received a huge amount of money from the federal government for a Cyclone Tracy monument. I mean, you had told us on the show that it's an artwork, a public installation. So should that money be returned to the federal government given the fact that it's not a Cyclone Tracy monument?
That would be a slap in the face of the survivors of Cyclone Tracy who participated in the committee, who themselves suggested and were accepted by all of them, and that was recommended to council. That was not my decision. That was a suggestion by the Cyclone Tracy committee that came to council, and all the councils agreed to it. So Mr. Bullock can say what he says, but the reality is that would be a slap to the face of these people who were survivors of Cyclone Tracy, and they were part of the committee. Mr. Bullock likes his own story. What Mr. Bullock hasn't told you, he goes on about corruption and mismanagement. He hasn't told you he put a formal complaint to the local government department about the council, and that was thrown out. Then he went to ICAC. He put a formal complaint to ICAC. That was thrown out also because there was not anything done wrong by the council. Then he put an application for freedom of information and we provided all the information to him. But I haven't heard him mention even once all these events. Look, I don't want to go about Mr. Anthony Bullock because he represents himself. I'm dealing with people that represent the Cyclone Tracy survivors, Richard Creswick and his team, and that I have to do by law.
Look, what I will say, Kon, though, is... we all read that press release that said it was going to be $300,000 from the federal government and that it was going to be going to a Cyclone Tracy monument. As I said, we have spoken, you and I have spoken about this before, and you'd said that it was going to be an art installation. So, the argument from not only Anthony, but from other Cyclone Tracy survivors, who quite a few of them we've heard from on the show, they are saying, their argument is that federal funding hasn't gone towards what it was supposed to go towards.
$300,000 were given to Richard Creswick Association or organization, and they're installing the frangipani flowers in East Point.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the monument. I'm talking about the monument, and I don't want to confuse the two things here because we know that there was federal funding for Bundilla Beach. But there was federal funding for Bundilla Beach. So let's not confuse that because we have read that press release out. So there definitely was funding that was supposed to go to a monument at Bundilla Beach. The memorial at East Point, it was separate funding.
And the monument you say in Bundilla Beach is the kinetic sculpture called Coriolis that represent the forces of nature that create the cyclones. And that will have an interpretive signature around it. That was decided to put there because it's going to be close to the museum where it's got the Cyclone Tracy exhibit. And that was put there because it's got plenty of space for visitors and children from schools to come and learn more about the forces of nature that create cyclones like Cyclone Tracy. Now, I know people say memorial monument. I can understand that one. Even myself, I had to go to the Cambridge Dictionary to find a definition. Even their definition is very confusing. Sometimes overlaps each other. The reality is, and we've discussed before how many times people in Darwin, they like or hate a public art. I remember still the arguments about Stuart Spear. I remember the argument about the jellyfish in the East Point. I understand that some people will like it, some people do not like it. The monument now it will be erected. It will be not the pink orange color you saw it. The artist himself decided he will pick up the blue color to represent the Larakia people, the saltwater people, and probably you've seen the photograph. It's a bluey color, which actually it will be blending with the environment, and also will have a link with Cyclone Tracy, the forces of nature, and the people here in Darwin.
Kon, some are calling for you to stand down as the mayor over this monument, over this artwork, this debacle. I mean, what do you say? Are you standing firm? It does sound as though you're standing firm and that you stand by that money being invested into this sculpture.
If any mayor resigned every time somebody calls for the resignation, you wouldn't have any mayors in Darwin or any other cities. I'm not here for Anthony Bullock. I'm here for the people of Darwin and the vast majority of Cyclone Tracy survivors who are represented by the Cyclone Tracy survivors.
I do just want to point out that it's not just Anthony. I mean, we've been sent a letter that literally has, Territorian after Territorian that have signed it, saying that they weren't happy and that they're not happy over this monument. Now, the one thing that I will say, Kon, is you've fronted up and you've spoken to me about this on numerous occasions. And it is no doubt that any council decision is not a decision from the mayor alone. It's actually from all of the councillors that sit on that council. Are you getting a bit pissed off that you're the only one that's having to answer these questions? Why isn't anyone else standing up?
No. Councillor Palmer stood up and very clearly spoke in your program. Other councillors standing up. Peter Panqui, Kim Farrar stood up. The only problem we've got is that every time some people stand up and talk in favour of the art, the sculpture or anything else, they're torn to pieces by the group of people that Mr. Bullock represents. I said before, I accept people's argument. I accept that they don't like some public art. Others would like it. Mr. Bullock doesn't like it. Now, well, what can I do about it, Mr. Bullock? That's your personal opinion.
All right, Kon, let's move along because there's a bit to talk about. I want to ask you, just a quick one. A listener got in contact with us yesterday, Tony, asking, hi, Katie, has the Airport Corporation paid their overdue council rates yet?
No, they haven't. The latest advice I've got is we might finish in court. It is unfortunate. It's a pity. We do the bit of the transaction, the contract. Unfortunately, they seem fit not to pay the what owed to council, which is totally unfair because every ratepayer pays their rate in due time. Here we've got a multinational corporation that charges an arm and a leg, and that contributes to the increased price of airfares, refuse to pay what's owed to council.
Kon, I want to move along. Something that I was contacted about yesterday is this, the pool manager's house. Well, it used to be the pool manager's house there at Parap. I'm sure that you're aware of the home that I'm speaking about. We spoke to Daryl Manzi. He was just one of the residents that got in contact with me about the concerns that former pool manager's house, it's going to be rezoned, or that is certainly what the council is considering. Now, my understanding is that to begin with, the council had moved a motion, or that there'd been that there had been information that the best thing to do with it is to zone it residential and potentially sell it. But then 3 other aldermen or 3 other councillors push back on that decision and want it to be zoned as community use. Now, the residents of that area are really very concerned about what that is going to mean. Were residents in the area consulted about these plans?
Look, there was consultation about before, and we had a report put to council that the old caretaker house be rezoned and be disposed of, and the money that we would get from that to put in an account. So if there was any future community development, that should actually go to that development. During the debate, Councillor Ed Smelt and Morgan Ricard moved an amendment not to sell it, but to rezone it for community purposes. As you know, council operates in democratic principles. 5 councillors voted for it. Myself, Councillor Palmer, Pankui, and Buchholz voted against him, explaining that it was not a good idea. First of all, rezoning it will be very difficult and will cost money to council, and also trying to renovate it will cost council cost money to council. I know that people are concerned. The council has not got any idea what to be in the future, but as I said, council operates on democratic principles. We were 4, there were 5, they won it. But again, there's a long way to go, and there's always ways of going back and review this decision.
Well, I think it's going to need to be, Kon, because the fact is, all of the residents on that street, and obviously, some of you saw the common sense here, but all of the residents on that street, from what I can gather, from the number that have been in contact with me, and not only that street, but in that area, they're ropeable. They're incredibly concerned about what this could actually become.
Yeah, I can understand that, but whatever it becomes, he has to come back to council for any decision, and council will actually decide about it. But as I said to you before, at the moment, 5 against 4, we're in the minority. We go for expression of interest, but even when it comes back, it will be thoroughly examined, and I'm pretty sure the 4 of us, it probably will be some of them, the others will change opinion when they see the cost and what else is cost to the local residents. They will change their mind.
To those that voted for this to become community purpose, so ultimately, from what we heard from residents, 5 of them that voted for that to become community purpose, from the discussion that we had yesterday, the concern here is that, it could become a halfway house. It could become a house where prisoners go when they get, out of jail. All of those things are obviously required in the community. But why would the council go down the path of having a community, like having that residence converted to that, when you've already got around the Parap area, around Parap village, there are antisocial issues from time to time. You've got residents that actually live in that area saying, we do not want this. I mean, did any of those aldermen that actually voted for this to happen actually speak to the residents in that area?
I always say to people, you know who your local alderman is. Pick up the phone and ring them and express your views, strong views against it, because at the end of the day, I can't do anything about it. I'm the mayor. I've got 1 vote like everybody else. But we were 4 opposed for our own reasons, and we explained why. The other 5, they went ahead with it. They want it, but nothing stops the local residents. Speak to me, speak to Councillor Parap, speak to Councillor Panqui, speak to Councillor Smelt and Councillor Ricard about it, and everybody else, and express their frustration.
So did they say,
so
Kon, obviously you, Councillor Palmer and Councillor Panqui have voted with what the residents and Bohoris, with what the residents actually want to have happen, which is for it to be a residential home. But with the others, what are they proposing that it actually be used as?
No, we can't propose they didn't propose what you use for. They actually asked to go for expression of interest. To their credit, they didn't say it has to be this or the other. At the end of the day, they can't. It has to come back to council, to full council, for a decision to be made. The only thing they wanted to go to expression of interest. Again, as I said to you before, I'm all in favor of going to expression of interest if it's going to bring some benefits to council and the local community. But to go for expression of interest just for the sake of going to expression of interest, I think it's not a very good idea.
But that home is also, it's actually on the land. Is it actually on the land that's the pool land as well?
It has to be rezoned. It has to be rezoned, and to go through a rezoning process and DCA, it will cost council money. There was no reason to spend extra money for that.
Why would they go down that path if it's costing council money?
Well, as I said to you before, Kate, you can put a question to them, call them on your program and put a question to them, because as I said to you before, it's a democratic. We are obliged, and we have to abide by the Northern Territory government legislation. We operate on democratic principles. Despite our best efforts, they want it.
Well, Kon, the Lord Mayor of Darwin, Kon Vatskalis, I appreciate your time this morning. All the very best with your recovery. Thanks, for joining us on the show. Much. Thank you.